when women are stepping into perimenopause, where they're feeling cognitive changes and mood changes all at the same time, it can feel so destabilizing. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women of like, this is who I've always known myself to be. This is how I've always shown up. This is the to-do list I've always been able to handle. And all of a sudden, it feels like it's beginning to falter. And I'm like, who am I if I'm not able to do all of those things? Who am I if I can't be as productive as I used to be?
Today feels really special because we are not just talking about hormones. We are talking about the lived experience of being a woman in midlife. Dr. Mariza Snyder is someone whose energy shifts a room. She brings clarity, confidence, and this grounded, fun, empowering presence that makes you feel like you can actually navigate whatever your body is doing without fear, without shame, and most importantly, without feeling alone. Her new book, The Perimenopause Revolution, is a powerful guide. But what I love most about Mariza is not just what she writes, it's how she leads. She has this way of taking complex hormonal changes and translating them into simple, actionable steps that make us all feel capable again. So today, we are going to explore perimenopause not as a crisis, but as a chapter that deserves clarity, support, and compassion. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's dive in with the one and only Dr. Mariza Snyder. Mariza, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to dive into this conversation. This is such a full circle moment, and boy, the listeners are in for a treat on this one.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Yay! Yes!
Yay! Okay, welcome. Our book nookers, our community are popping in. People are in the chat. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're coming in from. You know, I want to start this conversation and kind of cue this up. You know, I know this is a podcast, but this to me is such a full circle moment, and I really want to share this. And of course, you're my author, and you are the one sitting here on the couch with me in this epic studio as we pivot into this new chapter. And I want to take a minute to talk about that because this really relates to everybody right now. We're going to apply this to this conversation on shifting hormones and, you know, reframes for the way that we're looking at midlife and really what's possible, you know, what's possible and what we can recalibrate and rebirth during this time. And so, you know, my book nookers who are in here sitting in the podcast recording studio via Zoom, you know, we have had 1 year of bringing in these incredible authors into our community. And so what we've done is we've used books as an anchor tool to help ground us in ourselves and use some of the practices that we're going to talk about in this conversation. And Mariza is my last author and the beginning of a new chapter. And like, here's how this plays out, guys. Because I have lived my entire life believing in manifestation and believing in attracting the people and opportunities into our lives that we deserve when we live in alignment. And this is not only not woo-woo, this is literally based in neuroscience. And so in this conversation today, I want to plant some of the seeds for like not only what the hormones are telling us through their beautiful whispering messages, but maybe dropping a little bit of the neuroscience and shifting this conversation into, again, like what is possible. So I was just saying on Instagram stories, you know, all day today, I was kind of pushing and resisting. And I'm literally living the message of my book of nervous system regulation. And I know you are living the message of your book while you're wrapping your insane book tour. And what I realized is, you know, we can push and resist what's going on in our lives. And it feels horrible. It feels like anxiety and it feels like tension and it feels like resistance. Our house is under construction. I had to like massively pivot last minute to be able to have this conversation without construction going on behind. And the universe is always like, you know what, this or something better. And like, look at this incredible place I ended up in with my dear friend and sister. And we get to have this beautiful chat. And, you know, that's like a personal example, but I want to use it to plant the seed of life isn't just happening to us, it's happening for us. And when we can understand the messages of our body, because our bodies are brilliant, and I know we both look at the body the same way. And when we can kind of zoom out and get outside the jar of what we are experiencing, which I think friendships are so important for, because when we're in the thick of it, we can't always see, you know, outside of ourselves. That's what podcasts are for. That's what leaning on other people are for. But when we can zoom out, we can really see like, oh my God, this is what was trying to come my way. I just wasn't letting it. And I think, I'm going to pivot to you in a minute, but I just wanted to start with this conversation because this is truly the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And I couldn't wish for someone better to be by my side for this lead in. And perimenopause and this midlife, I think, of ours is exactly that. We can force against it. We can feel these things going on and we can feel like victims and like, what is wrong with me? Why am I broken? Or we can create a reframe and look at this like the greatest opportunity in our life to pivot into something that has been waiting for us all along. So, Mariza, before I ask you your first question, any thoughts on that?
Ooh, I would say the thought that came up to me, because as you know, I'm a podcaster too, and a friend,
Yeah.
as you're kind of, I would not necessarily closing this chapter, but um, upgrading this chapter. How does that feel? How is it feeling for you?
It could feel it could feel unknown, right? What I know is that when we are in the unknown, we grab onto control. We grab onto, like, there's a saying that we will crave a known hell over an unknown heaven day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
And from a nervous system perspective, as you know, that's our amygdala. It's like, let me grab onto what I know and what I can control. So it's very much the unknown, and I could fight that and feel lost in it and grab back onto the old story because it feels safe and familiar. Or I could be like, magic carpet ride, like, take me, And so that means in the moments where things are new and unfamiliar, I gotta trust. I gotta trust that first step. I gotta ground myself in anchoring practices that we're gonna talk about. I have to create like a new known for the identity that I'm ready and willing to step into. For me, this version of my life right now, and for everyone listening, what is the version of your life? Like, mine is an author version. And so in those moments of space of unfamiliar, the questions I ask myself are, what is the person, what is the life that I'm looking forward to stepping into? What choices would I make from that place?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And in any shift in our life, that is the opportunity and that is the work. It's, be, do, have, like, who do I need to be in order to do the things to have this next chapter of my life that I desire?
I love that.
How does it feel for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite questions to ask, anyone, especially women who are navigating this beautiful and profound transition is, what would you love? What would you love? And, especially as we're just even stepping into the weekend, it's about to be Thanksgiving, just asking yourselves, like, what would you love? As we're spending time with friends and family and just kind of ushering into this holiday season. So that's how I think about, everything is, what would I love? And in the expansion of putting a book out into the world, or, supporting and serving women, what would I love? Even as being a mom, you and I have been going back and forth over the last couple of days of the range. I think about the range of so many women who are listening to us, that we are, we've got lots of plates in the air that are spinning all at the same time. And there's a lot of range and a lot of different, roles that we play throughout our lives. And I think always anchoring back to that, especially as we're stepping into the unknown, I think is really important. What would you love? And that's what I keep always asking myself in the journey.
Yeah. And so is that a question that grounds it? Like, is that your go-to question when the moment gets tough and when things feel, out of place, or you get in your head? Is that your grounding question? Is this a question you're waking up with? Like, when and how are you asking yourself this question? Because for my community that's in here, we talk a lot about creating this dialogue with ourselves, right? And getting to know ourselves again, and how simple and subtle the work can be. And it comes, I think, a lot from this inner dialogue. So I would love to hear more about how that question plays out in your life.
Oh, I love this. I would say it's not so much on the day to day, more so what I'm stepping into, whether it's something that I'm curating, or it's an event that I'm attending, or it's a conversation that I'm going to have, or it's a birthday party that I'm planning. So anything that I'm like prepping for or preparing for, stepping into, what would I love? Just as a little example, even the small things. We're going to Joshua Tree next week, before Thanksgiving holiday, just kind of give an example. And I have family coming with us. It's actually very sweet. But when I tuned into what I would love, and then translating that to the people that are coming, so they have a sense of what I'm loving, but also it offers them the opportunity to ask themselves what they would love, so that everyone's getting what they would like out of it, versus us guessing what each other are wanting to get out of the experience. And so for me, it's really hiking. It's hiking with my son in Joshua Tree. It's just being in nature. Like, that is what I would love. Stargaze with the fire pit. So so I would say, like, just how do we squeeze the richness out of life, in especially in the moments that count, spending time with the people that you love, doing the things that you love.
And this is, I mean, this is literally how I think so many women around our age, and you guys, I'm loving the people that are popping in the chat. So share how this plays out for you if you feel called to. You know, this is such a time in so many of our lives where it's like we're realizing how much we have lived our lives for other people, whether it's our jobs or our family, all beautiful, beautiful things that we obviously are also grateful for. And like, at what point does anyone ask us, what do we want? What do we desire? What do we love? What lights us up? And so I love that you do that. That's such a subtle practice that literally takes no time. This is true self-care, right? You could do that in the car with Kingston, your beautiful son. What do I love? Right? How beautiful that we get to be the person that comes and saves the day and helps ourselves carve out the path for creation in our own life.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it really comes down to is intention. Intention of what you want. And I think intention starts every morning as well. It can't start every single morning, but it can be stepping into the next week, the next chapter, the next project, whatever it may be. And I think when we can lead with intention, particularly as we're stepping into an unknown chapter, such as whether midlife or it's menopause, whatever, however you're defining that for yourself, that we get to decide who we want to become, who we're stepping into, what are the things that light us up. Like, it's all up for grabs. It's all available. And so I think the unknown, I talk about this in the final part of the perimenopause revolution. I have a whole chapter on mindset, but stepping into the unknown, and how exhilarating that gets to be, because you're not just stepping in the unknown with nothing, right? You're stepping into the unknown with hard-won lessons. You're stepping into the unknown with wisdom. You're stepping into the unknown with successes. And you're stepping into the unknown, hopefully, with community, like women who get to do it with you. And I think that really gets to propel us into what I consider to be the most powerful chapter, because we take all of that with us. We take the boundaries, we take intention, we take, a deeper knowing of ourselves. We get to propel that into this next beautiful chapter of our lives.
I love that. I have a really strong visual that I want to share in case other listeners are visual as well. Because for me, when I ground these kinds of things in an image, it really helps me. So literally, as you're saying that, I picture two paths in the woods. And this is, making conscious choices in our life. And this is also neuroscience and chemistry. It's we have chosen the old path, the previous path, right? The path that's paved down and easy for us, the subconscious choices that we make every day. You think about how many things are we just reacting to in our day, in our life, without thinking about it from a script, from what we learned from our families, or, even our ancestors that have imprinted into our DNA and our nervous system. And then we wonder why our life doesn't feel like our own. And this midlife is one of the coolest opportunities. And what I heard in what you just said is to stop before you choose. Do you go left where you've always gone, or do you go right? Right. And it's the power of the pause, because in that pause, we create a shift. And I heard you use the word intention. We create intention with that next step forward. And from a neuroscience perspective, what happens is you lay down these new connections. You know this. You love the brain as much as I do. And soon that new path becomes easier. But all we got to do is, we don't have to focus on the destination necessarily. It's just that choice in that first step. What do I love? Boom, you're carving that new path. And, I want to go into my next question for you. You think about, again, the way that we've all lived and maybe some of the messages that we've guided our lives through, or the times in our life when we feel this shift happening in our body whispering something's changing, something's not feeling right, and we can just continue to like let it take us for a ride, or we can make this choice. And so I'm curious, were there certain whispers that you were getting? I mean, you wrote about this a lot in your book. This book is amazing, by the way. Grab it. We'll link it below for anyone who hasn't read it yet. But what were maybe some of the whispers and messages that led you on this way that were your inspiration for writing this book and sharing your story?
Oh, I love this question. I've had the opportunity to serve women for a very long time. I always say that I serve everybody by serving women, and I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that's my dogma on this planet, is just to show up and serve women. And, I've seen a lot of women step into this unknown and, with a lot of beliefs or narratives that have been taught to them that, oh, this is whether it's the beginning of the end, or, there's a vanishing of themselves that happen. And I remember when my mom was taking that step into, well, she really struggled with perimenopause. And I talk about this in the book, but that she had this defining moment kind of on the tail end of that, where I got to be very embedded in her healthcare plan and protocol, where she was like, enough is enough. Like, this isn't playing out like this for me. Like, I am going to become more powerful, more resilient. I'm gonna choose freedom over this narrative that, I'm declining, or that I'm not going to have capacity or capability to do the things that I want to do. And I watched her do a full like 180 in terms of the things that she loved, the things that she was tapping into. And what's been so beautiful, she's 65 now, and she has built her life around community and movement and connection and a lot of self-care. And she's still working. She just gave her 3-month retirement in her job. But it's just, she's built her life around moving with the women that she loves and doing it on her terms. And my mom is so vibrant and so energized, and it's so fun to see her, just, have the energy of a 40-year-old easy, any day of the week, and to really know that the world is her oyster. So that's just been so fun to witness. And also as I'm propelling, at 46 years old, propelling to this next, like, I got a little ways before I'm even in menopause, but I'm heading in that direction. And, struggling with my own perimenopausal journey at some points, as my mom had, and realizing that, I get to decide how I show up for me. I get to decide how I take care of me and honor my body. And I get to decide how I get to show up for women, like, and I think that the possibilities for in any of us is endless. As long as we are rooted in our intention and our purpose, like the door gets to swing wide open for each of us. And so the foundation for me has been like, how do I attune to my body and take care of my body so that I can really launch pad into continuing to serve women the way that I would love. And that's really what the book is about, is honoring the fact that not every day is going to be the most amazing day, but that every day I'm going to take steps forward to future-proof my health so that I can live in my purpose.
So good. And I love you dedicated your book to your mom, Jody. And that's so impressive, because I don't feel that this was that much of a conversation for our mothers. Our mothers went into perimenopause blindly. So she was very ahead of her time.
Yeah, she really grappled with it. I mean, I was there when she grappled with it. I'll never forget when my mom looked and felt like a shell of her former self. This woman had always been a superwoman in my eyes. She had this power walk. She still does. But I remember being a little girl, and she would pick us up from school, and her keys she would just have this walk like she was going somewhere. Like, but get out of the way, because she's heading somewhere. And it was obviously to pick us up at that moment. But that woman was always charging forward constantly. That is just how I always saw my mom. And so when I watched her in perimenopause, not the charging force that I knew her to be, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's happening? And I knew that it was such a reckoning for my mother as well. Just kind of recognizing, okay, like my body's changing, things are shifting. And and there was a lot of things that she was taking on, a lot of people that she was taking care of, a lot of obligations and things that she probably didn't even mean to say yes to, but had. And it was an opportunity for her to reassess how she was living her life, the things that she was saying yes and no to, and and really deciding to live it on her terms. And that was really powerful to me. And then watch her springboard into competitive tennis and to 70 plus marathons and half marathons and building community everywhere. And one of the things that has been the most inspiring, that everything that my mom does with her friends, even her book club groups, is movement, is hiking, or it's walking, or it's running, or it's tennis, or it's, like she has literally cultivated community around moving her body and staying energized. And to me, that, I have a lot of patients that are in their 60s. I have a lot of patients that are in their early and mid 60s who, are really struggling with a lot of chronic conditions and low energy and fatigue. And, the idea of running a marathon or a half marathon is a full, it just, they don't have the capacity. And, it really gets to look a lot of ways for us if and when we decide. And so I love that my mom at 49 years old had decided. She's like, I'm not doing my mom's menopause. I'm not on the slow decline train. Like, I am going to up level and I'm going to upgrade. And it's been really interesting. I'm spending a little bit of time talking about her, but she is now, as I mentioned, she's retiring, and it's been a struggle for her because I think it's hard. She's not reconciling it in the sense that she's got all this massive energy and she's doing all these things. And I think she's really grappling with what retirement means. And I was like, I think it's a disconnect because it's not aligning to who you are and how you're operating in the world and the energy and the capacity that you have. I think you think that once you retire, that there is going to be this decline. I'm like, but you get to write, who's writing these rules? Like,
Right.
whatever rules you think that you're potentially needing to adhere to, like, they don't exist. It's your game, it's your rules, it's your life. You get to do whatever you want. And I'm like, if anything, you've got more freedom and more capacity. I'm like, you have so much skill, you've got so much knowledge and wisdom. Like, this is just closing that particular chapter. That's that job chapter. That's all that is. Like, you get to the whole, it's all available. Like, you don't have to adhere to whatever you're seeing scripted out right now. Like, and that it's been interesting watching her kind of work through that and really being able to be her daughter and say, like, full out permission, like, it's yours. You get to decide whatever you want. There's no script to follow here.
So cool. I mean, how lucky to have you. And I think her season is relatable to all of us anytime we have a shift in our lives, right? Is that unknown. And then we have this story based on what we've been told by society. This is how this phase is going to go, or who we're supposed to be. And like you keep saying, it's like we have a choice. We get to pick. But I also want to touch on, when we're talking about perimenopause and things like this, I think, or seasons, shifts, retirements, relationships, moves, anything, any massive change in our life, what I hear a lot from women is, I feel like I'm losing myself. And so as it relates to perimenopause specifically, can you talk about maybe some of the shifts that are happening and the reframe in our hormones that women might be seeing or experiencing as failures that are actually simply biology and perhaps have, a really important reason behind why these are shifting and what they're opening us up to? Self-care needs a rebrand, and that's exactly why I wrote this book, The Connection Code, and it's out now. I'm so excited. I wrote this for the woman who feels like she has lost herself or just simply needs a reminder that everything she's searching for is already inside of her. Inside this book, you're going to find simple, science-backed tools to help you reset in real life moments, like in the carpool line or between back-to-back meetings, or maybe when you catch yourself unfortunately snapping at the people you love most. I designed the cover and made it playful on purpose because so many of us have lost this aspect of ourselves, and we need that invitation and reminder to bring back joy every single day. Pre-order your copy today, and you'll also get access to some amazing freebies to help you start regulating your nervous system and reconnecting with yourself right away.
I love this question, Melissa, because it really is an opportunity. I call perimenopause a time of discernment because it's an opportunity to be more discerning, and you get to do that. You get to have that. And I've really struggled with this as well in my own perimenopausal journey. I think, this is the thing that comes to me so often when women are stepping into perimenopause and they're experiencing this neuroendocrine transition where they're feeling cognitive changes and mood changes all at the same time. And it can feel so destabilizing.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why it feels so destabilizing is, I was brought up, there's still narratives that are probably unconsciously and also consciously playing out, especially as a mom. But I've always been very indispensable. I have always been reliable. Like it was, I've always been told that I was the horse to bet on. And so
Mhm.
as I started navigating into perimenopause and it all started to feel a little bit more rocky, and what I always knew I had capability of, like I have all this capability, but then didn't have the bandwidth. I had to really grapple with that. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women of like, this is who I've always known myself to be. This is how I've always shown up. This is the to-do list I've always been able to handle, the 100 tabs, the high level functioning. And all of a sudden it feels like it's beginning to falter. And I'm like, who am I if I'm not able to do all of those things? Who am I if I can't be as productive as I used to be? And what it allows us to one, we get to feel what we're feeling in that moment. Like I always want women to honor, like, when things are feeling a little bit destabilizing, like to honor that experience and to honor that there may be a grief that things are shifting and that maybe you don't always love that it's shifting. You don't have to love it all the time.
Mhm.
You get to not always love it and honor that. But then also it's a beautiful opportunity for us to think and say, well, are there things that I've said yes to or obligations and things that I actually never even wanted to do, like that I took on that I didn't even mean to take on. And I just said yes to it because I did have bandwidth. I did have the capacity to do it. I was like, well, you know what? Just keep layering this onto my plate because I can somehow pull it off. And then the brain, as it's upgrading, because there's nothing about it breaking. It's just a massive upgrade where the brain's like, actually, we get to be more discerning. Actually, we get to revisit the boundaries. We get to revisit the obligations and what you said yes to. And we also get to revisit what is feeling contracting versus what's feeling expansive. And when bandwidth shifts and you only have so much capacity at the moment, and I'm not saying that that's going to stay that way, maybe it's just a temporary opportunity for a reevaluation, then you get to get crystal freaking clear about what is a non-negotiable for you and what gets you get to let go of. And I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of this journey is realizing that you're holding on to things or you're doing things that actually you don't love or you don't need to hold on to, and you get to let them go. And you get to get real clear about what matters and what is your top priority as you move forward. And to me, that is such a beautiful weight to lift off your shoulders once you really give yourself permission to do so.
Mm, I love that. I would love you guys in the chat put things that maybe, like Mariza said, she's been the one that people rely on. You don't drop the ball, right? And it's interesting how much we tie our identity and our worth to these things, right? If you're the getter doner, what happens when you're not getting her done? Are people still going to love you? These things are very real, and I love that you said as we explore this and sit with it, it doesn't have to feel good. Because I think, a picture can be painted of navigating perimenopause in this new empowered way, and someone might think that that's supposed to always feel good. It doesn't mean that, right? Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we start to really dig deep, it's not always going to feel good. Again, you're
Mhm.
challenging beliefs, maybe deep-seated beliefs that have been in your family for generations. You talked about that earlier, or a narrative about how women should be in this world. Or, like you said, losing ourselves in what we consider to be this decline, like we're not worthy the way that we used to be. And it's all up for review. You get to recalibrate it. What if a lot of the things that you believe to be true about you, the beliefs and the boundaries or lack of boundaries, or the people pleasing, all of that, it's all been holding you down. It's all
Mhm.
been keeping you from your highest potential or your greatest joy. And I believe that all of this is coming up for a reason. It's an invitation for each of us to really, kind of sit with it with ourselves and say, okay, is this what I want? Do I want to bring all of this with me? Do I want to bring some of this with me? Am I letting a lot of it burn to the ground as I move into the next phase? I mean, I think that's the beauty of it all. And that was really the conversation that I was having with my mom. I'm like, how much of this are you burning down? How much of these are you letting go of? Like, and what are you most excited to step into? Like, what's a possibility for you when you decide you're going to let go of some of this other stuff that you've been holding on to? And I always think about Erica Badu has a song called "The Bag Lady," and now she's just holding on to all this baggage, holding on to all this stuff. And what if this was that defining moment where you just get to let a lot of it go as you usher into, and I think not so much who you need to become or what you need to step into, but more so what brings you joy. What would you love to embed more into your life that feels good? One of my favorite mantras that I've anchored into, especially this last year, is that it feels good to feel good. And this is a mantra from Gabby Bernstein, who I believe you ran into this last weekend. It feels good to feel good. And any, because I can easily get caught up in all the things that I need to do, I got to do, all the obligations, all the people that need me. And if we don't have that North Star, that compass of like, well, does this even feel good? Like, would I love this? Does this bring me joy? You really get lost in all of the stuff that everybody wants from us and not what's really true for ourselves.
I love that mantra. I'm going to borrow that one. Everybody write that one down. Stick it on your mirror. So we talk a lot about community, right? And this time more than ever, we need our community. I think a lot of women are more isolated than ever. I think digital communities are amazing because they help us get more rooted in our own community within. Who am I? Like Mariza saying, who do I want to be? Because when we resonate on that level, we become super magnetic. And the truth is, what happens is our community finds us. However, I want to speak to the listener who's maybe in the in-between. And so the listener who perhaps has people around her who she feels, whether it's true or not, who she feels love her and are friends with her because of how she shows up for them. And maybe this woman is thinking, these are things that I need to change. These are things that don't feel good anymore. And what happens if I lose my community? What would you say to that woman? Someone asked me this the other day, and I was like, "This is it's the in between the hurdle, right? What do we do is we're both and like maybe stepping out of this and into this, and we don't want to be alone, or maybe we don't have to be alone through it."
No, we definitely do not have to be alone through this. We're talking about seasons, we're talking about transitions. And we're just going to be times where, as we step into a new season or we step into a new version of ourselves, like maybe the people we've had on this journey, aren't necessarily the best fit, but also, a lot of us are in different seasons, whether we're moving or kids are graduating or we're losing those people in our lives. And I will tell you, a couple of years ago, right after the pandemic, I had this beautiful group of friends. We were called the Wolf Pack. And I, we really bonded. And just, I don't ever share this. I'll share it here, so hopefully no judgment. But we bonded at Burning Man, multiple Burning Mans.
I want to go. I've never
Yes,
been. We should all go.
Yeah, we should go. And that last year in 2019 was so magical when we went, and then the pandemic hit. But we all lived in San Diego or areas in San Diego. And we all got together, and we basically, I mean, we were staying at each other's homes during the pandemic for the full year, but these were all entrepreneurs, and majority of this group were women. And ultimately, I was pregnant. I had my son, which was very sweet. And I had so many amazing women around me. Like I had the most beautiful, not baby showers, but like I just, even in the middle of the pandemic, all of my people were with me and I never felt alone, which was so beautiful. But then after the pandemic, everyone moved away, and they're still incredibly my soul sisters, these women. And actually one of them is in town right now. And I'm going to go literally drive to go see her in La Jolla for an hour before I go pick up my son. And then we're having a big Friendsgiving. We're having a bunch of people over on Sunday. So they've been a part of my life, but they're gone. They're gone locally, physically, where we could just drive to each other's homes. And there was a mourning point for me for about 6 months where I was like trying to figure out, what I'm going to do. And I was like, okay, like I got to get back up, and I got to get some friends. I got to get some local friends. And so I started spending a year actively pursuing women.
I love it.
I'm such a pursuer. I'm such a quarter, so to speak. And so it's going to be really fun. I have a lot of my newest besties here that are going to be at Friendsgiving, and then a couple of the wolf pack will be here as well. And so I would say that, if you're feeling alone, you're feeling like lost, and you're looking for women that feel that are in the same journey with you, that are a safe space, that can hold space for you, take that first step. I always say when it comes to connection and friendship and community, that first step is deciding. And in this whole conversation, I would say the full through line of all of this, especially as we're anchoring into this new beautiful season, it's all about deciding. And so that first step is deciding that friends are worth it, deciding that community is worth it, and then beginning to, think about who in your Rolodex is local that has been a good friend, but maybe you guys have lost touch for a number of reasons, and reaching back out to them. And it can be simple as like, hey, it's been a while, but you've been on my heart, and I'd love to hear what you're up to. I'd love to know what's going on with you in your life right now, and just seeing what comes of that. And then, start planning the dates. And maybe you're going to have to be the one that's planning them. And you're the one, like, I have gifts in my bag right now. I mean, obviously this is like one of my besties, but I have a little care package for her, a little gift bundle, because I just want her to know that I'm loving her and thinking of her. And so I'm always bringing little gifts and little goodies anytime I'm meeting with friends, and I'm always setting up the next date. And it's all good, like, and if you're the place where you're having the parties, or you're having the events, or you're the one curating the little events to go to, I mean, that's okay. If community is meant for you and it's what you want to curate. And so I just, in this season, it is about putting out a little bit of extra effort, but I promise the juice is worth the squeeze. Like, if there was any area where I invest a lot of time and energy, it's into my friendships, and it's into connection and curating. I cannot tell you how many people I've been reaching out to for, like, I am literally the curator of holiday magic for everybody around me.
I believe that. I would feel that from you for sure.
And I am coordinating all the activities and all the things, and it's so worth it to me, because the magic that gets to happen, I'm the one who's lugging the big carafes of like homemade organic, like hot
Like the
chocolate
lemonades and
and the
juices and
cookies and all
yeah.
the things. Yeah. So that's just, because I want to create those magical moments. And I've come to this, I've learned the hard way, in the most beautiful way, that what matters most, at least to me, but so many of the people that I talk to, is really spending time with the people that you love, doing the things that you love. Like, that's the thing that feels the most alive for me. Like, I love the work I do. I love my mission so much. And I love to be doing these things with the people that matter the most to me. And those are my soul sisters first and foremost.
Love that. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I have a friend who lives a distance away, and she's a little lost without community, and I love it. One of the things she said she started doing is there's like a group class at her gym. She's like, I'm going the same day, the same time every week. I'm starting to see the same people. And so I'm establishing this community of people who are also like-minded, who are into moving their body and, living healthy. And she's like, all of a sudden, I'm just like inserting myself in this new group, and I'm making connections. So I love that. The first step is really the big decision.
Yeah, deciding, and not to feel embarrassed, right? There is no reason to feel embarrassed about being lonely, or having to start over with friendships, or reaching out to old friends that you've lost touch with. It's that first step that makes all the difference, and that moves you in the right direction. And I think when we anchor to the why of why it matters for us, that it becomes a lot easier, over time. And I promise those friendships are going to just be so worth it.
Love that. I want to pivot a little bit. One of the questions I think I hear amongst all my friends, that are in this phase with me is like, we're all always looking for simple, easy protocols for feeling our best as these things are shifting. And one of the things I love that you're always talking about online, you talk about it in the book, is these exercise snacks. These, I love the 2-minute tools. So let's bring in some of those 2-minute tools for anyone who hasn't read your book yet, and how they can start to incorporate them. Like, what are some of your favorite exercise snacks?
Oh, I was just doing them right before
I
this
bet you were.
conversation. And it was a really easy one. If you have stairs in your house or you've got a little bit of a long runway, I like to do a farmer's carry up and down the stairs 5 to 7 times. So a farmer's carry with usually 15 or 20-pound weights, and that is going to rev your heart rate. It's gonna help balance your blood sugar and give you a little bit more energy. But other ones that I really love to do are jump squats, jack squats, push-ups, mountain climbers. Jumping on a rebounder, I think is really wonderful as well. So anything
And
that's
fun.
really
And fun.
fun, yes. Anything that, especially if you put some really good music on at the same time.
Mm.
I'm usually listening to a really good book when I'm doing any of these too, or especially walking up and down my stairs with weights. But it energizes you and it wakes you up and it gets you prepped and primed. And I'm a big proponent of being prepped and primed, just being like in the energy, not only setting the intention for whatever you're stepping into, but also creating energy for what you're stepping into. And a little 2-minute exercise burst, man, you will feel more focused and more alive than you did 5 minutes prior after doing like just jumping jacks for 60 seconds will just wake you up. And that feels so good. And it's phenomenal for your metabolic health and your brain health and your sleep and just your overall energy and capacity. And for me, like even when I've got lots of energy, I don't know about you, Melissa. I always want more. I'm like, can I just get like a little bit more? And exercise snacks are one of the simplest ways to even build more energy into your day.
For sure. And I think if we think about some of the most common symptoms of perimenopause, like I'll take the ones I've been experiencing now in this transition and just very interesting time in my life. Like I definitely notice more difficulty task switching. I notice more feelings of like I could feel anxious, which is a feeling I haven't felt before. I mean, also my environment is it very much matches, right? So it's a physiological adaptation. Trouble sleeping, feeling like you've lost your connection with yourself. And so, maybe just touch on the hormonal perspective of that to whatever degree you want. But what I want to do is help women realize that these exercise snacks aren't just for metabolism. I mean, this is literally like getting back in your body and clearing out some of that yucky stuff quickly. Again, these are snacks. These are like you're at work and stuff isn't feeling great. You can walk out in the hall for a moment and do these things and come in a different version of yourself.
Yeah, I would say it's about really shifting your state. Is really what we're looking to do here is shifting your state and the hormones that are at play. I think more around neurochemistry, the neurotransmitters, like boosting, giving like a little serotonin and dopamine boost. You think about those endorphins, and you're gonna start to feel those endorphins as you start to build in this mini boost. You don't have to do a 5 or 10 mile run to get endorphins. Like you can just do a little mini exercise snack and have that feel good feeling. But also, we think about, how much we are in front of our phones or we're in front of a screen, as we all are at the moment. And where everything's just so, and you talked about this on my podcast, everything is so close. And when we're able to, like one of my favorites, so I've paired, I'm a big fan of pleasure stacking and self-care stacking. So a pleasure stack for me right now is going outside. I have the most magical backyard, and where there's butterflies and spiders and flowers and all kinds of things that are
Mm.
that are blooming, and it's also very tropical in the back. The way that my husband curated it. And so I'll go outside. We've got grass, like real grass, and I will do jump squats in the grass, and I will look out 10 feet, 5 to 10 feet out, Melissa. And I'll just daydream and look around and do some squats and then daydream a little bit. And we're talking 2 minutes. Not only have I completely cleared my mind, I'm outside in nature. I've moved my body. We're talking 2 freaking minutes. And then I'm
2
back
minutes.
doing the thing, whatever I was doing beforehand. It allows me to feel more focused. It allows me to switch tasks easier, but it brings my higher level functioning online, especially so often when we're kind of in that like focused zone in the screen. It can feel like your stress response system is in a bit of survival mode.
It literally puts it in there when we're near. Yeah. Yeah. So that expanded gaze literally hacks your nervous system. We're safe here.
And a little bit of movement. I mean, so I'll do a little bit of movement, and then I'll just look out and just view and let my brain just drift and daydream. And then I'll do a little bit more movement. And again, we're talking 10 or 2 minutes. I also want women to be really thinking about pleasure stacking. So maybe that is sauna with a book and red light, or maybe that's walking outside and voice memoing a bestie and looking out at the beautiful flowers. Like, what are the things, or maybe it's walking outside, texting your bestie. After that, you're listening to a book that you love and you've got your favorite matcha with you as well. And so you're doing like, you're just like, what would be the thing that, like, again, super good for you, healthy for your nervous system, healthy for your body and your metabolic health, and also nourishing relationships. These are the types of things that I'm always thinking of. Like, how can I stack? And it doesn't have to be complicated. And it doesn't have to be a long time. It just needs to be a quality amount of time. So it may just be 5 to 10 minutes. And the thing that I'm really good at as well is just asking. It's not so much asking permission, but like with my husband and I, we're both in businesses, we're both doing our thing. We both have a beautiful little boy to raise. And so I'm like, hey, can I go take a 10-minute walk really quickly? Like just 10 minutes to shake it out before I get back into the minutia of motherhood, and vice versa. So we'll take little breaks. Sometimes my son's he's building a really super crazy Lego set right now, and he's super focused. And so someone I kind of just needs to be, he likes to know that there's someone around. So we'll switch off. But occasionally all of us get to go out together. But I am a big fan of solo walking. So like I want it for myself, just my 10 minutes. And then that's when I'm usually stacking a couple sexy things there that are like feel good to me. 10 minutes and I'm back in the game.
It's amazing. I mean, Nancy was saying in the chat, she loves that pleasure stacking. You think about, we're always multitasking. How can I do all the best things? And now we're going to pivot that into pleasure. How can I stack all these beautiful things that I love? So we talked about, how to increase some endorphins, neurotransmitters, the things that we lose when we start to have declining estrogen, progesterone. To pivot off pleasure, when I put in my story, what questions do women have for the audience? I've asked you a lot, or for Dr. Mariza. We've gone through a lot of them, and one of them, was on sex. And so she had asked in particular, why is there declining sex drive, and what can we do to impact that? So maybe touch on that from a hormonal perspective. And then I know you work with a lot of women, so I imagine this comes up a lot. These are conversations that I think our moms didn't have a safe place to have. And these are the kind of conversations that I'm so glad that women today are having, because that is such a part of who we are, right? From a biological survival standpoint. And it's pleasure, right? So how do we bring that back into our lives in a way that feels good and not just, again, what's wrong with me? And maybe for some women, now I have no desire to do this thing, but I feel like I'm supposed to do this thing. How do we bridge that gap? Hey, real quick, I love tools that help us feel more grounded and connected, right? That's why I am obsessed with a higher dose PEMF mat. It's my go-to for the moments when life feels overwhelming and I just need a reset. This mat uses PEMF technology to help calm your nervous system, reduce stress, and recharge your energy, all in just a few minutes. So whether I'm taking a break from life, looking to unwind after a hectic day, recover from workouts, or just simply catch my breath, it's like giving my body that ultimate recharge. So seriously, if you're looking for an easy way to feel balanced and relaxed, you've got to check it out. For all my favorite higher dose products and an epic discount code just for you, check out my links in the description. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, it is so multifaceted, this question. And I'm so deeply grateful that there are some phenomenal experts and there's some beautiful books out there as well. But I'd love to connect. I mean, one, we know that especially in midlife, we are losing these vital hormones, including testosterone, which is your libido hormone. I call testosterone a build you up hormone because it really is driving a lot of the build you up factors of what makes us, right? Feeling energized, feeling confident, feeling like we're firing all cylinders, having libido and a sex drive, like testosterone is a major player here, and just having the vibrancy. Like I think about testosterone being a vibrancy hormone. But then also estrogen is declining too. And we know that vaginal estrogen is playing a role here in terms of even lubrication and, even the robustness of an orgasm is being affected by declining estrogen levels. And I believe that all vaginas need estrogen. Like I'm really a proponent of that. And then progesterone, which is our chill pill hormone. And when she's leaving this, the conversation, low stress tolerance. And oh my gosh, when you're exhausted, you're not sleeping, low stress tolerance. I mean, at the end of the day, our biological imperative is survival. And, reproduction, which is kind of that other biological imperative, takes a back seat when we're stressed and frazzled, and we're at our bandwidth, right? We're at, my son was asking me the other day, is what does capacity mean, mom? Because he hears me
Whoa.
talking about it all the time. And I was like, well, okay, so I was defining capacity probably from he's heard me talk about it with friends, or I'm being interviewed, or things like that, or I don't have as much capacity today. Like I'm always talking to my husband about what I've got capacity for. And so I was really kind of defining what capacity means. And when you're at capacity, like there's not a lot of room. I mean, sex and intimacy, it's an energetic, it requires energy to make all that work, right? And if you don't
Yeah.
have it, right, it's a struggle. And then also, again, with this neuroendocrine transition, we are changing. Our needs, are how we approach intimacy, the conversations, the compassion, vulnerabilities. All of that is shifting as well. Again, when you're having to grapple with your very identity and who you were versus who you are now, that begins a shift. And if a partner is not really fully understanding and embracing that you are changing, not only from a neurological standpoint, but also a physiological standpoint, that there can be some friction there too. And so, all again, this is all just being all up for review. I think it's worth talking to more of a functional practitioner about hormone replacement therapy as an option to kind of feel more alive in your body, if indeed you feel like you're doing all the right things and yet the light bulb is just not clicking back on. And then also having a more, open and vulnerable and compassionate conversation with your partner about kind of what's going on with you, and just being really honest. I think that level of compassion, I was being interviewed by Gabby Reese a couple weeks ago, and she told me she was talking about her foray into HRT, and when that happened, they were in Europe, and she didn't feel like herself. Something wasn't right. And her husband, Laird, she was up at 2 a.m. He's like, what's going on? And she's like, something isn't right. I don't feel like myself. And he's like, it's okay to not always feel like ourselves. And it was a really compassionate and loving place that he came from, of just meeting her where she was at, that he knew her body was changing and things were shifting. And so I think from a place from compassion, where a partner is meeting you where you're at, is really important as well. But I will say, like, I had my son in perimenopause, and it was like my libido packed its bag and just left for a permanent vacation. And I was like, is it ever coming back? And my testosterone levels were so low that I ended up getting on testosterone therapy. And oh my gosh, I was like, oh, well, there you are. Like, I was wondering where you went. And so you never know exactly where, what it could be that would bring back your libido. Is it testosterone or hormone replacement therapy? Is it these more deep conversations? Is it becoming more aligned with what brings you pleasure and being open to pleasure? One of my dear friends, Emily Fletcher, really explores that in a lot of her work, which I am just so in love with.
Yeah, all so good. I heard someone recently say, and I love this, they said communication is lubrication. So the communication with our partners, and I think the more that we understand our own bodies and we can help them understand what's going on. I mean, you think about it, men are fixers, right? Ultimately, it's like, here's the problem. How do I make it better? And when we've got all this stuff going on that, not that we're a problem, I don't mean to say it like that, but like, here's the challenge. How do I fix it? Like I have to say to my husband sometimes, I don't want this fixed. I just want to vent. And then I'm like, well, I should probably go talk to my girlfriends because that's a challenge for him. But, helping them understand what we're experiencing and helping them understand the boundaries that we need. And, they're going through changes too. And so I think us exploring ours and being open and honest and bringing that to the conversation and communication creates connection, which results in lubrication.
Yeah, agreed. Also, romantic fantasy books will bring about lubrication as well. So if you're like really struggling too, maybe a little bit of escapism, can support and help.
Yeah. Well, I know we got to wrap soon. I do want to touch on the one more thing on the HRT, because I know you had said you were just brought on CNN and there was some massive new information that came out in relation to HRT. So can you share it with the women here?
Absolutely. So the FDA recently just announced that they are removing the black box warning on vaginal estrogen. And that black box warning is the most serious warning on a medication that can be put out in terms of what doctors and clinicians are prescribing. And basically, on that black box warning, it stated that HRT potentially causes cancer and cardiovascular disease, which has been debunked for many, 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 many years. Also, they are shifting the guidelines of other hormone replacement therapies on the market as well. And so everything's beginning to shift in terms of, well, what we hope is that clinicians will feel safer and more confident recommending and prescribing these medicines for women in perimenopause and beyond, but that also women feel safer and also to have the conversation, but that these medications can help move them in the right direction depending on what symptoms that they're dealing with. And so we have a long ways to go in terms of, even though that these black box the guidance are changing, black box warning is being taken off, there's still a lot of conversation that needs to have, a lot more clarity that needs to be given, not only to clinicians, but also to women. Understanding, there's risks and benefits to every medication on the market. And so it really needs to be a nuanced conversation specifically for you. But that hopefully this is opening the door for more conversations now that this medication is not feeling the misinformation hopefully will die down, but also the caution around prescribing it.
Yeah, and it's just really important information, where no matter where we all stand on this is something I haven't personally explored yet, but I love bringing on experts. I've brought on people who are very much that we don't need hormone replacement therapy, that, by working on some things in our body, our physiology, that it was a physician that has never needed to use it. And then I love bringing people on that are like, it's great, it's life-changing. And if you need it, use it, right? There's a question in the chat. What percentage? Well, actually, let's save that because we're going to go after this public podcast. We'll go into the private room and my community gets you all to themselves. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm on HRT. I put on my estrogen patch literally a couple hours before this interview. I was like, a little estrogen won't hurt nobody, but at least not me. And so, but I will say, I've been on HRT now for 2 to 3 years. Progesterone first, estrogen second, testosterone came on third. Testosterone, I'm, hit or miss, like I said, libido and some things, but it hasn't been as mission critical as the other two hormones. And with that, they're optimizers. And for some women, they are game changers. And for me, it's allowed for me to feel more steady. And I've used them more for my brain than anything else. But I will tell you that the biggest needle mover in terms of me feeling alive in my body is not only community, but moving my body. And so I think that it's a yes and for so many of us, that it's going to be lifestyle and potentially bringing on medications that help us feel better. But they have been a game changer for me, I will say.
Thank you for sharing that, for sure, because I'm sure there's someone listening that needed to hear that. All right. Last question, so many gold nuggets here. You guys grab her book, so many incredible tools in here. And I'll let everyone know where to find you in the show notes. Everything's linked below. Got her book right here. Gorgeous, gorgeous. If you had maybe one message for the women listening, or even the men listening, really, going into this next decade and next season of their lives, what would that be?
You are not broken. Your body is just going through a profound transition, a whole body transition. Like these hormones, no stone left unturned. And it can really feel that way. And a powerful neuroendocrine transition. But this is leading to an upgrade. This is leading to a powerful new chapter. And really, we all deserve all the tools in the toolbox. I believe that women deserve a gold standard of care. And I hope that this book really opens the door for that gold standard of care for you. So with the right tools and the right support, which we all deserve and we all need to navigate into the second half of our lives, you get to step into the most vibrant version of you. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I just want you to feel that, like that resonate in your bones as you do navigate this time of transformation.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. You guys grab her book. We'll link everything below, and have an amazing day. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mariza.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful for Dr. Mariza Snyder, for this conversation, and for the clarity and leadership that she brings to such an important season in our lives. And I'm thankful to everybody listening. I want you to remember this. You are not supposed to navigate perimenopause alone. You are not meant to hold it together quietly or pretend that nothing is changing. Our bodies are speaking to us, and we deserve support, information, community, and compassion as we move through this. What I love about conversations like this is that they remind us all there is nothing wrong with us. Our bodies are not betraying us. We are simply shifting and learning what this next chapter of our life needs from us. If today's episode gave you a sense of relief or clarity, or even just the reminder that you're not the only one, please share this with another woman who might need the same message, because this is how we create community. This is how we normalize the conversation that women have been forced to hold in silence. This is how we take back our power together. I'm so thankful for Dr. Mariza Snyder for sharing her wisdom, her heart, and her dedication to women. And to our BookNut community, I'm so honored to have been walking this path with you, and I'm so looking forward to the next chapter.